Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to show you what our family makes every holiday for every holiday meal, whether it's Easter, Thanksgiving, Christmas. This salmon I actually made for Thanksgiving, so I'm sharing it just in time for Christmas. So if you want some extra recipe ideas or if you're making your first holiday meal ever, I'm going to walk you through all the stuff that you see here. Actually, that's a lie. The stovetop is out of a box because you can't beat stovetop stuffing, okay? It's just the best. The gravy is just from the drippings. These bacon wrapped smokies here my son brought. And then I did make a broccoli raisin salad that I wasn't sure how it was going to turn out, so I didn't share that, but it actually was really good, so I'll probably share that in the future. And then the cranberry sauce came right out of the can because I'm not about to pick my own cranberries. Anyways, so yeah, I'm just going to walk you through the stuff that we made here, and hopefully you can take something from it. We're going to start with the sweet potatoes. I actually cut these up and put them in a gallon-sized freezer bag a few months ago. I got a big bag of them on sale from Costco, and then they look bad. I promise they're fine. I cut them up, put them straight in the bag, and then when they came out, I did give them a wash. So yeah, it's just a big frozen chunk here. Again, they look moldy, but I promise they're not. I was even kind of like, wow, these look really bad. I probably shouldn't even show these, but this is just the way it is. I promise it doesn't matter. They get really caramelized and dark brown when they're ready to serve, so it's fine. To these, I just put them in a crock pot in the morning, and then I slice up a stick of butter on top of them, and then throw on like that whole bag of brown sugar, and that's it. I cook them on low, like I said, all day until dinner. I stir them every once in a while, just check on them, make sure they're not burning. I think maybe later in the afternoon, I did crank it up to high a little bit just because I really want to reach that dark color. And you'll see here in a second when I show you when they're done. They really didn't. They got darker in person than they look on the camera. When I looked at the video, I was like, well, those don't even look that dark. But in person, they were dark. So actually, how I'm going to do this video is I thought about sharing how I do things in order, but that would be really confusing because some stuff I do ahead of time, like way ahead of time, like cutting these potatoes. Some things I do like a couple days before. Some things I do the day before. But instead of doing it that way, I just did one item at a time. So so for an example, this you're seeing the morning of, and then I'll show you the clip of them right before we eat. And then, like with the deviled eggs, that actually was like over like 2 days maybe. And so I'll just show them to you all at once. So that's how we're going to do that. So yeah, you'll see here, they don't even really look that dark, but they really were. They were perfect. I actually cut these up a little bit bigger than I normally do because I hate when they get too mashed. We've tried the whole mashed, like marshmallow sweet potato before, and we do not like that. So this is how my family all loves them. It was a nice mix because I actually like the bigger pieces. My son had mentioned that he didn't like them, so it was a really good combination of little pieces, big pieces. Anyways, so next we're going to move on to the pumpkin pie. This is my grandma's recipe, and for this we have 3/4 cup sugar, a half a teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, a half a teaspoon of ginger, 1/4 of a teaspoon of ground cloves, 2 eggs beaten, 1 15-ounce can of pumpkin, 1 12-ounce can of evaporated milk, and then 1 unbaked pie crust. And so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to preheat my oven to 425 degrees, and then I'm going to mix the first 5 ingredients first. So that's the sugar, the salt, the cinnamon, and the ginger, and the ground cloves. I'm just going to mix that in a bowl here and then just give it a little mix, like just to combine it is all really. And then after that, I'm going to add in my beaten eggs, my can of pumpkin, and my can of evaporated milk. And then I'm going to set that aside. And then after I set that aside, I'm going to put my pie crust in my pie pan. Okay, here's the thing about the pie crust. I don't make a pie crust. I know that people say that it's easy to do, and I'm sure it is, but the pie crust is one of those things where I'm like, I can buy 6 pie crusts from Sam's Club, like Pillsbury ones for, I don't know, like $5 or $6. And I'm not about to go making me some homemade pie crust because it just saves me time. They're fine. They're good. People have commented to me like, oh, your pie crust is so good. I'm like, oh, thanks. That's great. I literally didn't do anything to it. So anyway, what I do with these pie crusts is I just spray my pan, and you want to make sure that these pie crusts are softened. I usually take them out of the freezer and then put them in the fridge like the day before Thanksgiving or the day before the holiday, and let them thaw out in the refrigerator. And then the morning of, I will set them out with like my softened butter and just kind of set everything out so everything kind of becomes to like room temperature. That way it's easier to work with. It's not as stiff. And so what I do with these is I just roll it out over the pan. And I really like these crusts because I don't want that big chunky crust along the outside. I know a lot of people like that. I can't even eat the crust. I can't eat gluten, so I don't even get to eat this crust. So I guess I really don't care, regardless of what the crust is, because I can't eat it anyway. But this is easier for me. I don't like preparing the crust along the outside. To me, it just seems more work. It doesn't look as nice. So with this, I just press it down in there. Just let it, I don't like press hard to like flatten it at all. I'm just making sure that it's just pressed all the way up to the edges so there's no air bubbles or anything. And then I kind of just use it the way, see how it's kind of like naturally creating this, kind of looks like a taco shell right now, but the way that it has that wavy look to it, I guess, embrace that, and then just use my fingers to, I hope I can do a good job of showing you. I'll put like one finger in it and then one along the side of it to just use that to create this natural kind of wavy pleat look to it. And then I just do that all the way around it. It does take me a minute to do here, and I don't know if I said this already, but I'm not going to show you this on the other pies because it's literally the same exact thing that I do on the pecan pies. I just go all the way around it like this until it's done, and it's pretty much even. I'll go all the way around, and then if I feel like there's any spots that look, like they have a big gap in it or it's not like uniformed. And I think we've all established here that I'm a perfectionist, so I do spend more time on this than I probably need to. I mean, look at me, this is ridiculous. But it's beautiful and I love it. I'm so happy with the way the pies turn out. I absolutely love them. So yeah, anyway, so I go all the way around this until it is to my satisfaction. And then after that, I will get the mixture to pour it in. Okay, so now that my pie crust is beautiful, I am going to take the mixture that we made earlier and set aside, the egg seasoning mixture, and I'm just going to pour that straight into the unbaked pie crust. And then after I pour it in here, I do usually kind of give it a little tap on the counter or use like my finger or something. See them bubbles? I will kind of just like touch those to pop them. I don't want any bubbles on the top of it. You know how like when you make Jello, I don't know, maybe no one else has this problem, but sometimes if I make Jello and you get in and you start whisking it and it creates all these bubbles, and then if you put it straight into the fridge, then when it sets, it has this kind of like weirdness to it because of the bubbles. I worry about that happening with this, so I just make sure that the bubbles are gone. This is the pie protector that I put on here that I don't need. I always thought that I had to use this. It never sits on this pie pan. I'm having trouble saying pie pan. Pie pan. It falls off. This is actually my second attempt at putting it in there. And I don't need it because of this type of crust, so I actually think I'm just going to get rid of it. But anyway, I'm going to bake the pie at 425 degrees for 15 minutes. And then after that, I'm going to reduce it to 350 and bake that for 40 to 50 minutes. Until it's finished. I don't like to poke it with the toothpick just because I don't want to make a crack start in it, and Grandma's goal was always to not have a crack, so that's my goal. I didn't poke it with a pie crust this time, or with the toothpick this time, and I did not have a crack. Look at that. It's perfect. It's beautiful. Grandma would be so proud. It's absolutely perfect. Next, we're going to make the pecan pies. I make two, one for the holiday and another one for my son's fiance because she loves pecan pie and I love her and I'll give her whatever she wants. So for the pecan pies, it's 3 eggs, 2/3 cup sugar, a half a teaspoon of salt, a 1/3 cup of butter melted, 1 cup of light corn syrup, 2 cups of pecan halves. I actually do 2.5, and then another unbaked pie crust like we did before. Again, I'm not going to show you how to do the pie crust. Did it the exact same way. I have Sam helping me cook here, and he was very excited to be involved and being featured in the video today. So make sure you guys give him a little bit of extra attention. And if you want to, in the comments, say hi to him. I'm sure that he would absolutely be thrilled because he dreams of being a YouTuber. Anyway, so in these pie crusts, we are going to add in the pecan halves straight into the unbaked pie crust. And then we're going to set those aside. Now, I will say Sam is really helping me a lot with this meal, and it is so bittersweet because I love having his help, but it does make everything take twice as long. Oh, watch this. Here, he wanted to try a pecan, and I caught this later after I was editing the video. So, yep, here it comes. There it is. And I had no idea that happened. So this is probably just everyone's tip to never eat at my house because I have no idea if there's going to be like half-eaten bits of food in your pie because things like that happen behind my back. Anyway, so yeah, he's helping. It's taking like twice as long, but it's so sweet. And yeah, like I said, it's bittersweet because it did take a lot more time, but it was so cute having him help. And you'll see his little hands popping in and out of the videos, like when I'm showing you the ingredients and stuff like that. And I don't know if you noticed when he helped me smooth out those pecans, the way he pat them down and pushed them around was so cute. He also had a lot of fun buttering the rolls later. You'll have to pay attention to that. Anyway, so we're going to put the pecans in these unbaked pie crusts and set them aside. And then after that, we are going to mix. So we have 2 separate bowls here. I'm going to do one first, and then while Sam is mixing it, I will mix the ingredients for the second pie in that back bowl there. So in here, we are going to combine the sugar, the salt, the eggs, the corn syrup, and the melted butter. I had no idea until I became an adult that, first of all, I never even liked pecan pie as a kid. I thought it was disgusting. To me, it was like right on the same level as raisin pie. And now that I'm an adult, I love pecan pie. And I think I probably would like raisin pie. I feel like you reach a new level of old when you look at foods like this and you're like, that's disgusting as a kid. You know, you're like, that's so gross. It's like an old people food. And now I'm like, can I just get a piece of pecan pie or raisin pie and a cup of coffee? Like that's reaching a new level of old, I think. And I'm proud of it. But anyway, well, speaking of the pecan pie, again, I can't have the crust, but I did eat the filling. And I think next year I'm actually going to try and make a 3rd pecan pie. Well, not next year, I guess. I guess I'll do that. I'll try that here for Christmas. I'm getting myself confused because I made this for Thanksgiving and now I'm sharing it for Christmas. So I think for Christmas, I'm going to try and do a separate pie for me. So a 3rd one without a crust and bake it and see if it works. That would be a dream. I mean, not that I need it. I know my body's going to hate me so much if I eat that. But that would be so great if I could bake it without a crust. Okay, so we're just finishing up mixing the pecan pie mixture. And at this point, Sam said that he needed a break. Which reminds me, he always took his breaks when I was doing like the cleanup. You know how as you're cooking, do the cleanup to keep it from getting out of control. Every time I would take a break to clean up, that was when he would say he needed his break. So that was very convenient for him. Anyway, so I take the filling or the, egg filling mixture, and I just pour that straight over the pecan pie. And I was saying a minute ago, I got off track when I was saying that as a kid, you think of these pies and they're disgusting. And then as an adult, I like this pie and I go to make it. And I was like, this is the weirdest thing. I never expected a pecan pie to be made this way. I mean, look how yellow it is. And it's literally just like corn syrup and butter and sugar is all it is. And it just amazes me how it bakes the way it does, because it just, I don't know. It just seems like it would be prepared differently. I don't know what it is. I just was really surprised when I came to make the pie for the first time what the actual process of the ingredients was. But anyway, so I'm going to pour this mixture on here, and I'm going to obsessively, compulsively mix these pecans. I don't even know what I'm doing. And then once I get it poured over the second one, like I said earlier, I went ahead and just skipped the crust protector because it served no purpose. But again, if you have a crust that goes over the edge of the pan there, you would definitely want to get some kind of pie crust protector. Otherwise, it's going to burn, by the time that your pie gets done. So I'm going to put these into the oven at 375 degrees, which I forgot to mention, you want to preheat. It should already be pretty preheated because you had it at 350 for the pumpkin pie. You should crank it up 25 degrees. And then I'm going to put it in a 375 degree oven, and I'm going to bake it for another 40 to 50 minutes like we did with the pumpkin pie. And for this one, I think I did the 50 minutes. I do with this one use an internal temperature thermometer. And you want to make sure that it is 200 degrees Fahrenheit. If you don't have one, it's not that big of a deal. I mean, if you're baking it for 50 minutes, you're fine. It's done. And then that's it. And these pies are delicious. Like, I can't express enough how good these pies are. All right, next up we have deviled eggs, and I love deviled eggs so much. I just want these all the time, not even at holidays, but you got to have them at the holidays. So we are making them in my Instant Pot, and the reason I do that is because making eggs in the Instant Pot is just so much easier. If you don't have one, then you have to just do your stovetop instructions. But I'm going to just give the instructions that I'm doing today, and that's in the Instant Pot. They peel like a dream. You'll see it here in a little bit whenever Sam and I peel them. But what I'm doing here is I'm going to put the rack in, and then we are putting in 12 eggs. A tip with the eggs. So we have farm fresh eggs. I usually don't use them for hard-boiled eggs unless I know that they are old. Not old, like to where you can't eat them, but older. If you put fresh eggs into boiling water or Instant Pot to try and make hard-boiled eggs with them, then they will be a nightmare to peel. So you want to make sure that you use eggs that are not really fresh. And so in there, we just put in the 12 eggs and then just a cup of water. And then we're going to put them into our Instant Pot here. And I don't do anything else. I don't add salt or anything else. Just the 1 cup of water. We're going to put that down into the Instant Pot, put the lid on. You want to make sure that it is flipped over to sealing. And then you're going to do it on manual high pressure for 5 minutes. And then after 5 minutes, you want to let them slow release for an additional 5 minutes. And then you want to quick release, let the rest of the air over by flipping it over to the vent. And then as soon as they are finished here, you'll see one of them cracked a little bit. Not a big deal. It's fine. You're going to immediately put them over into an ice bath, and then I let them sit there for at least 10 or 15 minutes before peeling. This is one of those steps where I'm like, this is such a pain in the butt. I don't know why I hate the ice bath step. It's not even that big of a deal, but it is super annoying to me for some reason. Maybe because honestly, I know what it is. I know exactly what it is. We have ice trays and I hate filling the ice trays so much. So ice to me is like basically gold because I hate filling the ice trays. So the last thing I want to do is waste all of my hard work on filling my ice trays to put it into this ice bath. And now it's just gone to waste and it's not going to be put into like a glass of tea or something where I'm actually going to like really benefit from it. I know this is so stupid, but this is honestly deep down why I hate the ice bath. So anyways, we just put them over into the ice bath. We let them set for 10 or 15 minutes. After they have come out of the ice bath, then we're going to just dump off the water and then we're going to start peeling them. And to do this, I just lightly tap it on the counter all over. I just kind of rotate it. You'll see how I'm doing it there. Just to make like basically like it's shattered. And actually as I do this, I start to notice that the egg starts to kind of pull away from the shell. And a lot of times when I'm doing this, like look at that, it just like falls out. I think we see one or two in there that maybe is a little bit more difficult to peel, but for the most part, they all just fall out of the shell pretty much. And so I was having trouble getting Sam started. See, he was just picking up like one little piece there. I was having trouble getting him started because he wanted to just kind of do like when you crack an egg, just like one or two hard cracks. And so I was trying to explain to him like, just like roll it around and crack it all over. And then the shells basically just like fall off. So as we are peeling them, then I'm just giving them a rinse under the cold water to wash off any extra little eggshell bit that might be stuck to it. And then laying them onto a paper towel. Once we get all of the eggs peeled and rinsed, I'm going to just put them in this bowl here and cover it. And I do lay a paper towel at the bottom to just absorb any water that runs off of them. And then I just stick it in the refrigerator until I'm ready to do the next step, which is this here. And this is later that night. So this is the night before the holiday meal. And I was so tired and I was trying to get as much done as I possibly could to just make the day of so much easier. And so this is really late when I decided to do this. I thought I'm going to go ahead and just cut these in half and get the yolks out and get the yolk mixture done. And then that way tomorrow, all I have to do is just fill them. I don't like to fill them the day before because anyone that makes deviled eggs knows that they kind of, create water as they sit. And you guys will see in a little bit, my egg container that I put them in has like a little well underneath, I guess, where it's got, I don't know how to explain it, but it has it so that it keeps the egg up out of its like water that it leaves behind. I don't even know if I'm making any sense, but you'll see what I'm talking about. But I don't like to make them ahead of time too much because they're not super great if you let them sit too long, even in the refrigerator. So I just do as much as I can and then fill them the day of. So that's what I'm doing here. And, okay, so what I do here, normally when I do this, okay, first let me say, the yolks look terrible. I don't normally get them that dark. If you do, it's fine. You're never going to even know. When I do the mixture, you can't tell. And they're totally fine, even to eat as they are. Like, it's fine. But when I was cooking, like I said earlier, I was busy with Sam. And I looked behind and I had pecan pies coming out of the oven. And then my timer had gone off for these eggs. And I was in the middle. I think we were making the compound butter, which you'll see here in a minute. And I had a moment where like everything was happening at once. And I think the dog was freaking out, which you'll also see. I'll highlight that. You'll get to hear the chaos that was happening. It was so fun. So anyway, I looked behind and I was like, oh crap, the eggs have been in there too long. Which I was surprised to only see that one egg had cracked because they had been in there too long. But because of that, the yolks look the way they do. But I said, they're fine. Anyway, so I don't even remember what I was saying now. Oh gosh, I don't even remember. Oh yeah, I remember now. Okay, so with these egg yolks, what I usually like to do is make my mixture and then use my hand mixer to beat them, make it smooth. Well, because it was late and I was tired, I was trying to half-ass it. I just wanted to be done with it, and I ended up making more work and more dishes for myself. So that was super fun. And then I ended up having to go back to my normal method anyways. So I should have just done it to begin with. But anyway, the recipe for this. So we did the 12 eggs. And then we are going to add to this a half a cup of Miracle Whip or mayonnaise. I've done both. I prefer Miracle Whip. I don't like these with mayonnaise. And I think it's because the Miracle Whip gives it a sweetness that I need. And then I counteract that with a tartness from the mustard, or sometimes we even put in like a little splash of vinegar. If I do mayonnaise, then it's too much. Then it's too mustardy. I don't know how to explain it, but I prefer really to use Miracle Whip for this. And even parts of my family who hate Miracle Whip, I've noticed, like them better when I use it. Anyhow, so I use a half a cup of Miracle Whip or mayonnaise, and then I do 1.5 tablespoons of mustard. I do not measure it. I just eyeball it. Sometimes I'll just add it in there, mix it up, taste it, and then just keep adding to it if I need to. I've also had times where I've thrown in some fresh or dried chives in this to give it like some extra flavor. Sometimes I've had times where I put like bacon bits on top, but this, I'm just doing like a traditional deviled egg this time. Okay, although I normally break up the yolks with my fork before I use my hand mixer, this is what I did here. I decided that I was like, I'm just gonna use my fork and just whisk it myself, like just beat it myself, get until it's smooth. Because I overestimated my powers and thought that I could do the same work as a hand mixer, apparently. And it's not happening. It's still chunky. And so then I end up getting a whisk out and thought, okay, well, maybe I'm just, look at me. I'm trying really hard to beat it. That sounded terrible. Anyway. So then I ended up getting my whisk out. It didn't do anything extra that the fork wasn't already doing. The only thing that the whisk did was take some of my egg mixture that I'll never get back. And for those of you that love deviled eggs, know that you don't waste deviled egg mixture, okay? Because that is so good. And you'll see me in a little bit whenever I fill the eggs. I want whatever's left in the piping bag. And I kind of hope that there's a little bit extra left over so that I can just eat it plain. Now look at this. Look at all of it in the whisk. And obviously I do as much as I can to get it clean. But at this point, I was honestly just pissed that I not only had spent more time on this than I needed to, but now I'm losing product. I went ahead and took a bite anyway. Oh, that was just to taste it. That's my excuse. It was just a taste test. And I'm sure I probably do that a few times. And yes, I'm using the same finger that I used to taste it. I don't care. There's a sign in my kitchen that says, all of my food is made with love. And what that means is that, yes, I lick the spoon. Because that's just the way it is. I'm cooking for my family. And that's love, okay? That's just it. No argument. So here's my true method. I just use the hand mixer, whip it up, and it's done in just a few minutes. This is the way I always do it. This is the way I should have done it. So yeah, the whole thing was just an absolute joke. But you whip it here until it's fluffy. And then once you get it all mixed up so that there's no more lumps or anything in it, then I'm going to transfer it over to a piping bag. Okay, so if you don't have piping bags, that's fine. I actually have some somewhere, couldn't find them. Just use a sandwich bag. The ones that have the like standing bottoms now, those do not work well. So this is just a normal sandwich bag. I do put it down into a cup like this. As you can see, it makes it so much easier to fill it. It's just cleaner. It's just the way to go. Like, don't ever hold it in your hand and try and do it. It's just a nightmare. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it into this bag and then close it up, push the air out, and get it ready for the next day. Like, then that way all I have to do is just cut the little corner off and it's ready to go. I'm going to put it in the fridge. The other halves that I cut earlier from the eggs, like the egg white halves, I put them back into that container that I had, and I put them face side down so that some of that moisture water that I was talking about did not like pool inside of the egg. So I just do both of those, get them covered up, and then put them back into the fridge, and that way they're ready for me the next day. So here we are, next day, day of the meal, and I actually just realized that I'm wearing the same clothes that I wore the day before. So I'm sure to everybody this all looks like I did it on the same day, but really I just wore like the same clothes for 2 or 3 days. Anyway, so I'm going to put, this is that container thing I was telling you about. See how in the center it's got like a little plastic piece? That keeps the egg from going all the way down into the hole, but allows that space for any extra water. So it's not like the eggs aren't sitting in there in that water. This is a Pampered Chef thing. I absolutely love this container. If you flip it over, then it's just flat on the other side. It has like, maybe it's like filled with like ice, like ice pack type gel or something. And I don't freeze it. I've done that before. Made the mistake of freezing it. And then the bottoms of my eggs were frozen when I took them to some potluck or something. So, but I have found that if I prep it like this, stick it in the fridge, they get cold enough that they keep the eggs or veggies or whatever you're putting in them cold until the meal's over. So it's fine. You don't need to freeze them. But anyway, so I'm going to put each of the eggs halves in one of these. And I've said this to my family, it's perfect. I need to have the right amount. See how there's one egg missing right now? Okay. If that would have been the case, I would have had to make another deviled egg because I can't have one of the spaces open. It needs to be completely full. A lot of times I will make extra hard-boiled eggs in case I have ones that don't turn out because I'm like, it has to be full. I can't have any of these. I can't have any missing. And as much as I want to eat some of these prior to the meal, I refuse to do it because I cannot set this out with eggs missing because, again, I have OCD. So I got the mixture out that we had put in that sandwich bag the night before, just cut a little corner off, and then I just start squeezing the mixture into the halves. You do want to overflow it a little bit because we've added mayonnaise and mustard to it, so it's going to have more volume than it did when we took the egg yolks out. But I try to do it just a little bit over, and then if I have to, I can always go back and add more. But let's be honest, we already established this earlier that I love the egg mixture, so anything that's left over, I'm going to just squeeze straight into my mouth and eat it. After all of the egg white halves are filled, then I get just some paprika, just regular old paprika. I pour it into my hand first and then lightly sprinkle it on to each one. My oldest son does not like paprika. Well, he'll eat these fine, but you know, if there's no shaker top on it, so if I just try to gently sprinkle it out of the container, it gets to be too much. And so that's why I do it this way. If you have a shaker top on it, you don't have to put it in your hand, but this is just the reason why I do that. Is just because he doesn't like a ton of it on there. So, and they're always so pretty. Look at them. Like, I just love how they look whenever they're done. Deviled eggs are so cute. Okay, next up we have rolls. I'm going to try to not go into these rolls too far, but I'm probably going to anyway. But what I have here for these rolls is 1 cup of lukewarm water, 2 tablespoons of sugar, a tablespoon of instant yeast, 3 to 4 cups of all-purpose flour, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1/4 cup of butter, softened, 1 egg, and 2 tablespoons of butter for like later for buttering the tops. And then also a 12-inch cast iron skillet. So I tried making a roll recipe a few weeks before this, and they were awful. I didn't like the technique. I don't know. There was a few different things I didn't. No, hang on. That was the first time I tried them. They were terrible. They just tasted bad. So I actually threw them out to my chickens. They were happy. They loved them. And then I found a different recipe, which is this one. And with this, I made it first the way it tells to make them. And I didn't love the technique, but the flavor was good and they were soft. But they had this like fold over technique, and then I didn't like how after they baked, they kind of had this like pull apart, but it wasn't a good pull apart kind of effect. So I this time did the same recipe, and then I decided not to do the pull, like the flattening, folding technique on it. And then I also decided to do an egg wash on top of it before baking to make them a little bit more golden brown. So the first time I made them, I used 3.5 cups of flour out of the 3 to 4 cups. And it seemed good. Like my dough was good. Like it didn't feel sticky for a long, like it was just a good ratio. And so this time I did the same thing that I did last time. I added 3 cups first, and then if I needed to add more, I could. And this time my dough felt more sticky. And so I kept feeling like I had to add more. I never did go more than the 3.5 cups, I don't think. And so I don't know what happened, but they look beautiful. And the flavor was fine, but they ended up being really dense. But like I said, people ate them. They all were fine with it, but they never got really fluffy. And they weren't good enough that people ate them left over, if that makes sense. You know, you have those things where it's like, yeah, it's fine because they're fresh and we have them with gravy, but nobody wanted them left over. So you're like, okay, well, they weren't good. So I don't know what happened. I ended up Googling it, and it said that, because I was like, what happens, you know, why are my rolls dense? And the results I got literally said dense rolls could be from not enough kneading or too much kneading. So that was very helpful. Like, how in the hell am I supposed to know which one was it then? I'm going to say probably too much, but then I read after I made it that first time, I was like, well, I probably didn't do it enough then, because the instructions say to do it for 4 to 5 minutes. And so I don't know. Maybe I just need to get a KitchenAid mixer, because I know that that's how a lot of these are instructions. Like, you just put it in the KitchenAid mixer with the hook and let it go. And I don't have that. And so instead of that, I just basically mix the mixture up. You'll see here in a minute with a wooden spoon. And then once I feel like it's pulled away from the bowl, then I dump it out on the counter to then knead it. And I did the whole, like, you know, making it until the dough is like tacky but not sticky. And then when you press on it, it, you know, retracts. You know what I'm talking about? And so I did all of that. I don't know. They weren't terrible. Obviously, people ate them. The first batch, nobody ate them. The chickens did eat them. If the chickens hadn't eaten them, I would have been like, good Lord, that's bad. If the chickens wouldn't even eat them, you know it's bad. But the chickens at least ate them. These ones, like I said, everybody ate them, said they were good. But they should be fluffier. I don't know. I'm not a very experienced baker, especially when it comes to things like breads. So if anyone knows any tips or can tell me by watching me here what I'm doing wrong, I would love to know, because this is something that I would love to be able to make. Marty and I were actually talking about this the other day. And it's so funny because, you know, when you make something, and Marty does this sometimes, like where I'll be like, is it good? And he'll be like, yeah, it's good. And then I'll ask again. He'll be like, yeah, I said it's good. I'm like, I know. But then sometimes later, after a couple days, then you'll be like, well, actually, you know, whatever. He always loves my food. But I did say, I can tell you don't love the rolls. Like, what's wrong with the rolls? I think it was just that they were too dense. But again, the flavor was okay, I think. So, but he was saying, you know, just the best rolls are just like brown and serve rolls, or like sometimes I'll buy those Rhodes rolls and like where they're frozen, and then just, you know, you do the thawing rising and then just bake them, and they're good. I always love those, but you know, it can be expensive. Like, I think they're like $6 or $8 for a bag, and I could just make them myself for a fraction of the price, but they suck. So I would really love to figure out how to make these or what I'm doing wrong so that I can make my own bread. Anyway, yeah, so just watch this and see what I'm doing here and tell me what I'm doing wrong. I would greatly appreciate any feedback that I can get on this, because I don't know what I'm doing. But they, like I said, they turned out beautiful. Sam said they were really good. I think that they were better fresh, and they definitely had to be warmed up to be eaten later. They weren't hard, they were just dense. I'm just happy that these were at least better than the first attempt and even the second attempt. So I feel like they're getting better. And I don't know how everyone else is, but when I get a recipe for something, I will follow it to a T to the recipe first. And then I will decide what was wrong with it. And then I will try to tweak some things. And then I'll just keep doing that until I get it where I want it. So that's what's going on with the rules. Anyway, like I said, I would appreciate any feedback because I'm still in this don't know what I'm doing tweaking process where I don't know if what I'm doing is actually making things better or worse. So I just put on the egg wash, which I think helps, and these are what they look like when they were done before the butter. Sam was so excited to be my cameraman and help video things as they were coming out of the oven. And then he really wanted to spread the butter on, and I have watched this a few times, and it just gives me goosebumps watching him butter these rolls so gently. And look at this little technique he had to add in, like and look at him. Like, it's just, I could sit here and watch him butter rolls all day. Look at that. Look at how adorable that is. I just love it. I'm still here. I'm just watching this. This is so great. Next up, Sam and I make the compound butter. It's 2 sticks of butter softened, 3 to 4 fresh rosemary sprigs, several thyme sprigs, 1 tablespoon of dried parsley or 2 tablespoons of fresh, 1 teaspoon of Cavender's Greek seasoning, 1 teaspoon of, I use Kinder's buttery blend seasoning or any garlic and herb type seasoning, and then the zest of a lemon, a half a teaspoon of salt, 1/4 of a teaspoon of pepper, and then you can add minced garlic if you want to. It gives us heartburn, so we don't. So all we do here with this butter is we just mix everything up together in a container, and then we are preparing it the day before, so that way it's ready the day of. And this is one of those times where Sam helping me was bittersweet. This is where the chaos starts happening also, which I'm not exactly sure how soon it happens, but if you just keep watching, you'll get to hear Stella going nuts, me losing my mind just a little bit. I kept it together. But in all the chaos, I wasn't really paying attention to how much herbs were going in there, because usually I'm the only one doing it, but Sam and I were both doing it. So by the time it was all done, there was quite a bit of herbs in that butter.
I kind of like the steps. I'm just going to do it like this, but when I'm over there, I'm going to use the steps for the, like this. You just smash.
Stella, stop it.
So you just smash.
Stella! Hey, sister, quit! Listen, that person's been over there for about 30 minutes now, and he just woke up and realized it. He's fine. Hey, Stella! She don't care.
It looks like mushed up cheese.
Yeah, it does.
You know that mushed up cheese that people sometimes use? What is it called? But that's what. Do you know those stuff?
Kinda.
That's what it looks like.
Okay, she's driving me nuts.
Hey, there's some butter that is not mushed up.
It's okay. We'll get it all mushed up. I don't have to put everything in it. But I'm gonna press pause for a second. But it ended up being totally fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. So that's what we're doing here. We're going to just first kind of mash up the butter a little bit so it's easier to mix once we throw everything in. And then just start, it takes some time. It's tedious to take all the herbs off the stems and chop them up and everything, but it's a holiday. Like, it's got to be special, I mean, if all you have is dried herbs, fine, that's great. Like, I use dried herbs all the time. But fresh herbs really aren't that expensive. I think each one of these containers costs me like $1.90. So it's really not that much extra, and it just adds that extra special touch. They smell so good, and, it just feels fancy, so we have to do it for the holidays. But we're going to just mix it all together, and then once I get it all mixed, I'm just going to put the lid on it and then stick it in the refrigerator so that it's ready for the next day. Next up, we have green bean casserole, and for this, I need 4 cans of cut green beans. For this year, I actually used 5 cans, and then I need a half a cup of milk and a teaspoon of soy sauce, and then a can of cream of mushroom soup. I have gluten-free here so that I can have it, a dash of pepper, and then I have 1.5 cans of French fried onions, but I have this huge Costco size bag, and I just use however much my heart desires for that. So what I do with the green beans is I set them out the night before. I drain them, and then sometimes I'll lay them on a towel. This time I didn't. I just let them sit in the strainer on top of the bowl overnight to just let all of the juices fall off of it, and then I want them to be dry because I don't want any added liquid to the green bean casserole. I don't like it to be soupy or anything like that. So I let them dry out overnight. And then what I do in a bowl here is I mix the cream of mushroom soup, the soy sauce, the milk, and the dash of pepper, and mix that up until it's combined. And then I just dump in the green beans. I gently fold them so that way, you know, they're canned green beans, so they're really fragile and they like break easy. So I just try to gently fold them in just so that they're not all broken up. I know a lot of people use the French cut green beans. Yeah, I just can't. Honestly, I don't even like them to begin with that much, but especially something like this, like to me, it's just going to turn to mush. So I've never done that. I've had some years where I've used the frozen green beans, and my family seems to like it less when I do that. Everyone just likes it this way. I've made it this way since probably, I think it was like around maybe high school, like end of high school, when I started bringing something to the holidays. This is what I always brought, and this is what everyone always asked me to bring. I think it's the soy sauce. I don't know what it is. Like when people ask me for the recipe and I tell them there's soy sauce in it, they're always surprised. But that must be what it is, because otherwise it's pretty basic. But anyway, so I just use the canned green beans because that seems to be what everybody likes the best. No French cut for me here. And then anyway, so I fold the green beans in, and then once I fold them in, then I add, let me see what I have written down here. I have, half of the can of the fried onions. So I don't have the can, so I just eyeballed it. I actually forgot to add them in and started dumping them into the casserole dish, and then had to dump it back into the bowl and then add the onions. So what I do is I add a little bit of the onions to the mixture, and then I add more later. And I didn't get a very good end clip of these because it was like right during the madness of trying to get everybody fed. Like it's always the last thing I make, and it's because it bakes at 350. I forgot to mention that. So bake it at 350 for 30 minutes, and then sprinkle the remaining French fried onions over, and then bake it for an additional 5 to 7 minutes. Or just wanting to get them kind of toasted. Well, anyway, so my end shot was like right when everyone was getting ready to start eating, and I was in that mad rush of just trying to get everything done. And like I said, this is the last thing I make, so the clip that I have of this is not very good. And I didn't get a clip of it after it came out of the oven the final time. I just took a clip right before I put it into the oven after I added the French fried onions. Anyway, so I add some to the mixture and then add the rest on top. It does, like I said, it doesn't take very long to bake. It's super easy. Like I said, it's minimal ingredients. It just doesn't take very long to bake at the end there. And you got to watch them when you bake it the last 5 to 7 minutes, because those fried onions do toast up pretty quick. I think 5 minutes is usually all I ever do. I don't think I ever do anything more than 5 minutes. And then that's really it for this. It's just like one of my most basic recipes that I don't have much to add to, or there's nothing super fancy about it, but it's just a tried and true recipe that we always love, and we have it every single recipe or every single holiday dinner, and it's a family favorite. Next, we have mashed potatoes, and this recipe is actually a Pioneer Woman's recipe. Well, hang on a minute. What I normally would make would be Pioneer Woman's mashed potato recipe, but I am not really supposed to eat dairy, which we know that's not happening. Have you seen all the butter that I've been using for this whole dinner? Anyway, so I really don't eat dairy, and my son has trouble with dairy. So I'm going to tell you the recipe that I would typically use, but I'll tell you what I'm not using in that recipe, I guess. So it's 5 pounds of potatoes peeled and then cut into chunks. That's what I'm doing here. 2 sticks of salted butter softened, 1 8-ounce package of cream cheese softened. I'm not using that today. Heavy cream or milk, I'm not using that. I'm going to use the almond milk. And then salt and pepper to taste. And then optional things would be 2 to 3 tablespoons of chive, fresh or dried. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm just peeling, like I said, everything and then cutting it into chunks. Then I'm just putting it into this water here. And whenever I'm going to be peeling a lot of potatoes, I will put them in cold water. It just helps keep them from turning brown as they sit. And then after that, I just give them a wash, dump that water out, give them a wash, and then I cut them into bigger chunks. I don't like to cut them into small chunks because I do make them in the Instant Pot. If I was making them on the stovetop, I probably would cut them a little bit smaller just to reduce my cooking time. But I am, like I said, making them in the Instant Pot, so I do want some bigger chunks for that. So, yeah, that's all we're doing here. I do want to say, when I saw these potato peels, it reminded me, I just watched a YouTube video not that long ago, and I can't think of what the name of it is. I think she's fairly new. But anyway, she is just a frugal living mom, and she was showing how she could make a Thanksgiving dinner on I think it was like $20 or $30 or something. And she used her potato skins and put them in the air fryer and used them as like the French fried onions for the green bean casserole. She said it wasn't great. I probably wouldn't like it either. However, she did say that washing the potato skins, scrubbing them beforehand and then tossing them with a little bit of oil and then seasoning them with some salt and then tossing them in the air fryer, they get super crispy. And I think that would be good. So I really want to try that sometime. And I should have done it with all of these potato skins, but I totally forgot until I was doing this voiceover right now. So anyway, yep, we're just going to finish peeling these potatoes and then cutting them, and then we'll move over to the Instant Pot. So I put the potatoes down into my Instant Pot insert. I did not use the rack or anything. And then I just added in 1.5 cups of liquid. And I'm looking at my instructions here and it says to add the potatoes on the trivet. I don't know. I did not do that this time and they were fine. So I'm going to be retyping my recipe because that's not accurate. Anyhow, I just put them straight in there with 1.5 cups of water. You could use broth if you want to. And then I do manual pressure on high for 10 minutes. And then I let them natural release for 5 minutes. And then I did a quick release. And then you can see here, they're just like knife tender or fork tender, whatever you're using. And then I did pour a little bit of the liquid out. I think I've had times where I haven't had as much liquid, but this time it seemed like there was maybe a little bit more in it. And I want to say maybe in the past I used 1 cup of water instead of 1.5, but I would be worried that one wouldn't be enough. I don't want to run out of water in there. So you may have to just dump a little bit of the liquid out, but not like, when you cook them on the stove and you have to dump them in the strainer, nothing like that. So that's the nice thing about doing it this way, is that you don't have to mess with the strainer. So anyway, after it's done, I just move the insert over to the cutting board, and then I would normally add in all the dairy that I'm doing, but I'm just doing the 2 sticks of butter this time, and then a little bit of almond milk and the salt and pepper to taste. And I just use my hand mixer utensil, like the attachment thing, to just kind of break it up for me a little bit first. And then I just start mixing it with my hand mixer until it's the consistency where I want. I know some people don't like lumps, some do. I don't mind them, but most people like to have a smooth mashed potato, so that's typically how I do it, is just smooth, no bumps in them at all. Sometimes after I do this, I will transfer them to a baking dish and then run a fork over the top to just kind of create like a rough top to it to allow it to toast. And I'll put some pads of butter on top of it, and I'll bake it at 425 for 15 to 20 minutes to just get that kind of golden brown top on it. If you want to take the extra step, I typically do that for the holidays. I did not do it this time. Once I got them done here in the Instant Pot, I just put them back in the Instant Pot and set it on warm. I think I actually made them several hours before we actually had dinner, and then just kept it on warm, and they were completely fine. Put the lid on it, they were completely fine. They honestly, when we ate, tasted like I just finished making them. But anyway, if you do decide to bake them in the casserole dish after you do these steps, it's just like an extra fancy step. But if you do that, you want to let them set when they come out of the oven for, I don't know, probably 15 or 20 minutes, not just to cool, but if you serve them right after they come out, they're practically soupy. They get very thin, and you need to let them sit for a minute, because as they cool, they'll thicken back up. So like I said, if you want to do that, do the fancy way. Just make sure you give it an extra 15 or 20 minutes to cool off. And these were really good. I thought that I would be sad that it doesn't have an 8-ounce block of cream cheese in it, because I love cream cheese, but they were really good. I think it's because I salted them well. So I think that's probably the trick, but they were excellent. And I've had years where I tried making them the potatoes ahead of time, like I did with the sweet potatoes, where I cut them and then froze them. And like the sweet potatoes, they got kind of those brown gray spots. Well, because these are cooked different than the sweet potatoes, they did not look the same after they were cooked. That year, my mashed potatoes were, they were literally gray. They tasted fine, thankfully, but they did not look good at all. They really actually looked like they were probably moldy, but everybody ate them anyway. But anyway, yeah, that's it. Just a pretty basic mashed potato recipe. I don't typically make these unless it's a special occasion, just because it's so much work. But if I do, this is how I always make them, and they always turn out super great. So if you have an Instant Pot, which I know a lot of people don't, you just do them on the stovetop. Instead of putting them in the Instant Pot, you just put the potatoes in a large pot, cover them with cold water, and then just season it with salt, bring them to a boil, and then you just cook them until they're that knife tender, fork tender, and then you just put them in the strainer to get all the boiling water off of them. So that's it with the mashed potatoes. They're super good, and I think the majority of these mashed potatoes, since I can't have the gluten, I ate all the mashed potatoes. Last but not least, we have the turkey, the star of the show, and I'm just going to pat myself on the back here. My turkeys are amazing. Every year I'm just blown away by how good they are, and I'm just going to pat myself on the back for it right now. I'm sorry, but not sorry. I'm bragging about how good my turkeys are. They are the best turkeys I've ever had. I always do the turkey bag method, which I don't even know why I started doing that, to be honest. But they turn out perfect every single time, which surprises me, because I would always think that cooking in a bag, that it would create a steam or something, and then I wouldn't get the crispy skin. Not the case. When you see here at the end, it's absolutely beautiful. It's so good. It's just perfect every time. I'm going to quit going on about it now. So what I do is the turkey bags, and I just follow the instructions on the box for those. It's putting in, I think, 1 tablespoon or 2 tablespoons of flour, and then I just shake it up like this. And then how I do it is I put the rack inside the bag and then put the turkey in. The first year I made it, I made the mistake of buttering the turkey and everything first, and then trying to put this like goopy buttered turkey into this bag, and it was a nightmare. But you have to be really careful when you put the turkey in there, because if you pull on it too hard, then the rack can actually tear the bag. You do get 2 bags in the box, and there's been some years where I've had to use the second one. So you just want to be really careful the whole time that you're doing this, like from this moment all the way until you're finished and you close the bag up. I'm just very careful to make sure that I don't rip the bag, because you don't want to have to do the whole thing over again, especially if your turkey's already buttered. Like I said earlier, it's just a nightmare, and you don't want to do that to yourself. I was going to this year make a cornstarch slur or whatever it's called, and put in the bottom of the bag also to kind of just help with the gravy situation. I ended up not doing it. I show everything here, like I'd make and I do make the slur. I just set it aside, and I end up using it later for the when I make the gravy with the drippings. But I decided not to put it in the bottom of the bag, because then I was like, I've never done that before. I better not, just in case it screws it up and then does create a steam or something, and then I end up with a soggy turkey, and that would just, oh my God, I would be so mad if I would have done that and then my turkey didn't turn out. So now we have our turkey here, and I have what I did when I first take it out is I let it sit in a strainer and completely lose all of its juices. I take out the inside guts, and then I completely pat it down with a paper towel, and then I even like tuck paper towels like into its like armpits and cracks and everything, and I just like leave it there with its like paper towels for a while, and I let it sit like that for, I don't know, probably like maybe 30 minutes to an hour. And then when I'm ready to get it ready, you saw all my stuff that I had there. I had my compound butter that we made ahead of time, and then I have my leftover like lemon and herbs and things like that I'm going to stuff it with. So as you can see, I like stick my whole arm into the turkey. Sometimes Marty will help me with this part if the turkey's too big. This one was, I think, 14 pounds. I've done 20-pound ones before. See, the bag like sticks to it. Now imagine doing this with this turkey completely covered in all that butter. That's what I did the first year I made a turkey. It was a nightmare. So anyway, I just put my arm in there and then just gently put the turkey into the rack while I use my other hand to just pull at that bag. And like I said, you have to be very careful with that because it can tear very easily. Once I get it in there, then I take my extra stuff that I had. It's the lemon halves. I used the one that I zested. I just cut it in half, and then I had an extra lemon, so I just cut it in half. I just chunked up an onion, and then I saved a few sprigs of all of the herbs that I used before. So I'm just going to take those items and just stuff those in there. And plus it looks so pretty. It looks so festive once you get them in there. And then after I get those in there, then I take my compound butter and just rub that all over the turkey. And it's so messy, but it's just the best way to do it. Completely off topic for a second. I apologize if I sound tired right now. It is taking me several days to get this voiceover done because I have to do it whenever I can just find little pockets of alone time. And I'm finishing it up finally, and I'm laying here with the cat purring on me, and I'm nearly asleep, but I'm in the home stretch of getting this done. So now I have the compound butter, and I think I started doing this last year, and I just remembered. See, I'm walking over to the microwave to just heat it up just enough that it's not super melted, but just, you'll see here. Yeah, see how much softer it is? The first year that I did this, the first or second year, it just doesn't spread around, and I had the hardest time buttering the turkey. And then like I said, I think last year is when I decided to start kind of melting it a little bit, and it just makes it so much easier. It is very messy, but it just spreads around the turkey so much easier, because what happens is when the turkey is cold and hardened like that, and then the turkey's cold, it doesn't spread at all. Like, it ends up just kind of like becoming like flaky, and then it just like doesn't even stick. I mean, it does not stick to the turkey at all. So I highly recommend melting the butter just a little bit. And right here, you'll see me struggling. I'm trying to get underneath the skin on the breast. So what I'll do is, and I don't know, I had a hard time with this turkey. Oh my gosh, my cat, like, she hears me talking on here and she just can't stand it. Like, she's about ready to knock this out of my hand. And you can probably hear her purring and licking herself. Anyway, gosh, I'm still like messing with this turkey here. I had a really hard time getting under the skin. So I'll grab like some blobs of butter, and then I will get underneath the skin, between the skin and the chicken breast, and I will just put a ton of butter in there. And oh my gosh, hang on a second, I gotta sneeze. Okay, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. There's like some cold type crud going around, and I'm praying to God that I don't get it. I do not need a cold right now. Anyway, so you got to get under that skin. I think it really makes a big difference. And underneath between the breast and the skin is the only place that I get underneath. Everywhere else, I just rub it all over outside. And I use all of that butter. I just, you can't really see very well what I'm doing because of the bag, but I literally just go clear up to the wings and the legs, and then even up by the neck area. I don't put any in the cavity. And honestly, this was a smaller turkey than I've done in the past. Like I mentioned earlier, most years we do like a 20-pound turkey, and this one was only 14. So I did notice that I had a ton of butter this time, but I'm not complaining. You can't really complain about having too much butter on your turkey skin. So it came out perfect. I can't wait for you guys to see the finished turkey. It was so beautiful. And when it got done, like all of my family members came in to the kitchen, and we all were like, imagine all of us, well, not all of us, but there was probably like 3 or 4 of us standing at the stove, and we all had our phones out, and we were like taking a picture of the turkey because it was that pretty. And it was delicious. It was so juicy. Oh my gosh, it was so good. But anyway, so yeah, I just take the rest of this butter and just spread it all over this turkey. And then obviously when you're done, you have to like wash your arms and your hands. I'm not even kidding. This butter, look at how high up on my arm it is. Yeah, so definitely wash your hands really, really good when you're done here. Here, I'm going to give you a peek inside the bag just so you can kind of, I mean, you can't see the whole turkey because the bag's stuck to it, but you just got like a glimpse there of like what it looks like when it's all buttered up. But the bag sticks to it so bad. And then you have to cut just 6 little slits in the top of the bag just to let the steam out. So maybe this is why the skin doesn't get soggy, is because there's steam that's able to leave. But I don't know. I just still feel like it would not get a crispy skin. It always surprises me. And I think I ended up doing 8 slits. I don't know. I guess probably just because I have a hard time following instructions. And then once you get the slits cut in there, then you just take it comes with like some little zip tie things, and you just want to bunch up the bag at the end there. And again, you really want to be careful when you're pulling that bag to get it tied shut, because nothing sucks worse than when you're doing that and the bag tears, and now you have this messy, buttery turkey inside this bag that you have to take back out. Oh my gosh, I've had that happen and it sucks so bad. But anyway, so you just, I'm just really trying to be careful to make sure that I get all of the bag in the little bunch, because I didn't want it to be where when it was baking there was like a little piece of the bag that wasn't going to be like in the zip tie and then come undone. So I'm just making sure to do a thorough job of getting it all inside that zip tie. And when it's cooking like this, see how the bag is stuck to the turkey? It will do that. I've had some turkeys where the bag kind of balloons up in the stove, and so you really want to make sure that you get it on like the bottom rack of the oven, just to prevent it from touching that top burner in the oven if it does decide to balloon up. This one didn't. This one, I think, I don't remember how long in, but I checked it at one point and I noticed that the skin was getting pretty brown, but the bag wasn't ballooning. And so I just pulled it out of the oven just so I could kind of get a better look of it. I don't even know what I just said. Guys, I am so tired. Get a better look at it. And I just used my hands and just kind of pulled the bag gently away from the skin. And then I realized that it kind of had stuck to it just a little bit, which was fine. It was totally fine. It just came unstuck and then it was fine. Okay, here it is. Look at this. Look how pretty that turkey is. I just like can't like get over it. Like I literally every year I told Marty I take a picture of, oh, and look at Stella. She's like, hello. I told Marty every year I take a picture of the turkey and then I save it until like it'll be like May, and I'll be like, oh, I can probably delete the picture of the Thanksgiving turkey now. Anyways, okay, so that's a wrap. This is just another clip of what I showed you at the beginning, just showing you everything we had. I did not get all the pretty pictures of the food before we all ate. I didn't even think of it until after everybody had like got their plates fixed. So I apologize that everything is not perfect and aesthetically pleasing right here. There's stuff missing and we've all eaten. But it was more important to me that I got everybody fed instead of having a picture perfect video. But so that's it, you guys. That is our holiday dinner. And I just thank you guys for joining me for another video. And if you are still here, God bless you. But that's just the way it is. I was more concerned about everybody eating than taking a pretty video before it all got touched. So anyways, that is it. That's all I have for you guys today. So thank you so much for coming to another video. And thank you if you watched the whole thing. Like, honestly, I don't even know if I could have done it. So anyways, see you guys in the next one. Bye.